The air was thick with heat, heavy and unforgiving, as the train screeched to a halt at the edge of the city. Dust curled up from the tracks, catching the sunlight like golden mist. From one of the last carriages, a young man stepped out, tall, lean, and dressed in a threadbare black shirt that clung to his back. He blinked against the brightness, slung a small duffel bag over his shoulder, and took his first step onto the land that was supposed to change his life. His name was Liam. He had left the countryside 3 hours earlier, riding the train that groaned across rice fields and sluggish rivers, past grazing buffalo and rusted billboards. Now the city sprawled before him like a hungry beast, loud, fast, and unapologetically alive. The kind of place that swallowed the weak whole and gave the desperate 100 ways to fall. But Liam wasn't afraid. He hadn't come here to fail. He lit a cigarette with a practiced flick of his thumb, took a long drag, and let the smoke trail from his lips like a promise. He didn't smile. He never smiled. The phone in his pocket buzzed. A single name on the screen, Long. He stared at it for a moment before answering. "You made it." Long's voice was low and sharp like a knife on glass. "I'm here," Liam said. "You got the address?" "I'll find it. Be quick. Boss doesn't like to wait." The line went dead. Liam didn't need a map. He had memorized the route days ago, burning it into his brain like scripture. He headed east, weaving through honking motorbikes and roadside stalls thick with the scent of grilled pork and gasoline. The city pulsed around him, its rhythm erratic and dangerous. Men sat on plastic stools playing cards. Women leaned in doorways watching. Children darted between alleys. No one looked at him twice, and that was exactly what he wanted. He arrived at the building just past noon. It was tucked behind a noodle shop, hidden under a canopy of rusted tin and hanging wires. Faded red letters above the door read, Tianbao Shipping Company. But Liam knew it was a lie. This wasn't a shipping company. This was where the real business happened. He knocked twice. A metal slit slid open. A pair of eyes narrowed at him from inside. "Who sent you?" the voice asked. "Long." A pause. Then the door creaked open. Inside was a dim hallway that smelled of sweat and incense. The man who let him in was stocky, bald, and wore a gold chain thick enough to choke someone. He didn't offer his name, just jerked his chin and said, "Follow me." They passed through 2 more doors before reaching a room lit by a single flickering bulb. In the center sat a man behind a desk piled with money, phones, and a half-empty glass of whiskey. His suit was immaculate. His face wasn't. A long scar ran from his right eyebrow down to the corner of his mouth. He looked like someone who smiled rarely, and never for free. "You're the new kid?" the man asked, voice calm but dangerous. Liam nodded. "You don't look like much." "Looks don't matter." The man raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" Liam didn't answer. He held the man's gaze steady and unflinching. For a moment the room was silent except for the buzz of the light. Then the man chuckled. "I like him," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Got balls." He poured another glass of whiskey and slid it across the table. Liam didn't touch it. "Tell me, kid. Why are you here?" "To work." "Doing what?" "Whatever you need." The man smiled with his eyes, but it was a cold smile. "We'll see about that." He snapped his fingers. The bald man returned with a plastic bag. Inside it was a gun. A Glock 17. Clean loaded. "Take it," the boss said. Liam reached in and picked it up without hesitation. The weight felt familiar, almost comforting. "Good," the boss said. "Now listen. Tonight you ride with Long. He'll test you. You pass, you stay. You don't, well." He shrugged. The implication was clear. Liam nodded. He didn't blink. The sun dipped low over the city, casting everything in gold and shadow. Liam sat in the passenger seat of a black SUV, the Glock resting in his lap. Long was behind the wheel, chewing on a toothpick, sunglasses hiding his eyes. "You sure you're ready for this?" Long asked. Liam didn't answer. Long smirked. "Didn't think so." The SUV rolled down the road, deeper into the belly of the city. Music pounded from the clubs. Neon signs flickered like broken promises. Somewhere a siren wailed. They pulled into an alley and stopped. Long turned to Liam, suddenly serious. "Inside that building," he said, pointing, "there's a man named Bao. He owes money. He's been dodging us for weeks. What do you want me to do?" "Knock. Ask politely. If he pays, walk away. If he doesn't." Long paused, letting the silence fill in the rest. "Then you remind him who we are." Liam nodded once, tucked the Glock into the back of his waistband and stepped out. He didn't know Bao. He didn't care. This was the test. The door loomed before him, old, weather-beaten, half open. Music thudded faintly from inside. He raised his hand to knock, and hesitated for the first time. Just for a second. Then he knocked. The door creaked open an inch, enough for one bloodshot eye to peek through. Liam could smell stale beer and fried food seeping from the crack. Inside, a party was dying, loud music, angry laughter, the clatter of empty bottles. "Who the hell are you?" the man behind the door slurred. "I'm here to talk to Bao," Liam said flatly. "What for?" Liam didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward, letting the weight of silence, and the gun hidden behind his back, do the talking. The man frowned, hesitated, then stepped aside. "He's in the back." The apartment reeked of smoke and sweat. Dirty mattresses were piled in corners. A fan spun uselessly overhead. Two guys were arguing over a deck of cards on the floor while a third snored on the couch, oblivious. No one paid Liam any mind. He found Bao in the back room, shirtless, belly spilling over his jeans, gold rings on his fingers and a cigarette smoldering between his lips. He was leaning over a table full of cash and IOUs, counting slowly, lips moving like he was praying. Liam didn't knock. He just walked in. Bao looked up, squinting through the smoke. "Who the hell are you supposed to be?" "Long sent me," Liam said. Bao groaned and leaned back in his chair, rubbing his face. "That bastard. I told him I'd have the money next week. You were supposed to have it last week." "Well, things change." Liam stepped closer, slow and steady. "This isn't a negotiation." Bao's jaw clenched. "Listen, kid. I don't know who you think you are, but I've been in this game longer than you've been alive. You think waving a gun around makes you tough. I haven't waved anything," Liam said, his voice calm. "Not yet." Bao stood up suddenly, chair scraping back. He was shorter than Liam but twice as wide. His fists were clenched. "You gonna shoot me over a late payment?" "If I have to." For a moment they just stared at each other, the tension like a wire pulled tight between them. Then Bao laughed, loud and cruel. "You're just a damn kid playing dress-up." Liam didn't flinch. He reached behind his back and pulled out the Glock. Not aiming it, just showing it. The room went quiet. "I'm not here to play," he said. Bao stared at the gun, then at Liam. "You'd shoot me?" "Right here. Over a few million dong." "It's not about the money," Liam said, stepping forward. "It's about respect. You make us look weak when you don't pay on time. That's a problem." Bao raised his hand slowly. All right. No need for drama." He opened a drawer, pulled out a thick envelope and tossed it on the table. "Tell Long we're even." Liam picked it up, checked the contents, then nodded once. No threats. No extra words. He turned and walked out. The ride back was silent for the first 10 minutes. Long lit a cigarette and kept one hand on the wheel, stealing glances at Liam. "So," Long finally asked, "what happened?" "He paid. No trouble. Some noise. Nothing serious." Long nodded, impressed despite himself. "You didn't shoot him?" "Didn't have to." Long chuckled. "You've got discipline." That's rare. Liam said nothing. They pulled up to the same rusted warehouse. Inside, the boss was waiting, sipping his whiskey like nothing had changed. When Liam dropped the envelope on the table, he barely looked up. Bao gave it up, huh? Liam nodded. The boss cracked a grin. Good. I was starting to get tired of his mouth. He stood, walked around the desk, and clapped a hand on Liam's shoulder. Welcome to the crew. That night, Liam sat on the rooftop of a crumbling apartment building, cigarette glowing in the dark. Below him, the city stretched out in all directions, neon noise and secrets. His phone buzzed again. A new number. No name. He answered. Nice work, the voice said. It was long again. Is this gonna be a regular thing? Liam asked. If you want to make money, yeah. Bao was just the start. There's more where that came from. Bigger jobs. Bigger risks. Liam stared out at the skyline, unblinking. I'm in, he said. Long laughed. Thought so. I'll call you tomorrow. Click. The city kept breathing, unaware, or maybe just uncaring, that another ghost had entered its bloodstream. Liam didn't feel triumphant. He didn't feel anything. Not yet. But he knew this was only the beginning. By the time the sun rose, the city had already started grinding its gears. Mopeds buzzed like angry bees. Vendors shouted over each other, steam rising from carts full of noodles, pork skewers, and iced coffee. But Liam didn't notice. He'd been awake all night. His rooftop vigil ended with the morning haze. The cigarette butts scattered around him told their own story, one of restlessness, of calculation. He wasn't just in now. He was being watched. His phone rang again just after 7 a.m. You busy? Long's voice crackled over the line. Not anymore. Good. Get dressed. Boss wants to see you. Now. Liam didn't ask why. He just hung up, changed into a clean white tee, jeans, and a black hoodie and headed out. The warehouse looked different in daylight. Less ominous, more run down. Like it belonged to a failing import business rather than a rising crime syndicate. But Liam knew better. Behind its rusted shutters and broken windows was something thriving. Dangerous. Organized. Inside, the usual muscle lounged around the entrance. Sleeveless tanks, tribal tattoos, and cheap gold chains. They barely looked up as Liam passed. The boss was already waiting, seated behind the same desk, but this time he wasn't alone. A new face. Clean suit. Black. Tailored. Shaved head. Sharp eyes. Not local. Something colder about him. Vietnamese, sure, but maybe raised elsewhere. Something in his stance screamed military or at least private security. The boss gestured for Liam to come forward. This is Mr. Kai, he said. He works outside our usual circle. Today you work with him. Liam didn't blink. Doing what? Kai spoke for the first time, voice even, calm and clipped like a man used to control. Pickup job. Discreet. Fast. And no mistakes. Liam raised an eyebrow. What are we picking up? Not your concern, Kai said. All you need to know is this. There'll be a man at Benton Market 10:30 sharp. He'll be carrying a blue delivery bag. You take the bag. You don't talk. You don't ask questions. You come straight back. That's it. Kai's eyes narrowed. You think it sounds easy. That's the test. Liam nodded. All right. Take this, Kai added, tossing him a burner phone. If anything goes wrong, call. Once. Then toss it. The boss leaned back, watching him. Think of this as your second interview. Benton Market was already in full swing when Liam arrived. Crowds moved like waves. Tourists, locals, sellers, pickpockets, beggars. Every smell imaginable hit him at once. Grilled meat, durian, motor oil, incense. He made his way through the maze of stalls, eyes scanning. 10:29. Then he saw him. Mid-30s. Ball cap. Cheap shades. Blue delivery bag slung over one shoulder. standing too still to be a real courier. Liam approached like a customer. Didn't speak. Just looked him dead in the eyes and held out his hand. The man hesitated, only for a second, but enough to register. Then he passed the bag. Liam nodded once and turned to leave. And that's when the shouting started. "Hey! You! Stop!" Liam didn't turn. Didn't run. Just walked faster, weaving through the crowd. Behind him he could hear footsteps. Not locals. Boots. Heavy. He slipped into an alley, checked the bag. Inside, nothing resembling food. Just a thick steel case locked tight. Footsteps again. Closer. He pulled out the burner and dialed. "Talk," Kai's voice answered. "I'm being followed." "By who?" "Police. Not locals. Tactical vests." "Then change the plan. Go to the old train yard on Nguyen Van Siu. Now." The call ended. Liam tossed the phone, ducked behind a fruit cart, and took off through a side street. The train yard was abandoned. Rusting tracks, gutted carriages, silence. He crouched behind an old tanker, catching his breath. The case was heavy, awkward. His mind spun. What the hell was in it? A black car pulled up minutes later. Kai stepped out alone, still calm, still unbothered. "No tail?" he asked. "Not anymore," Liam said. Kai nodded. "Good." He opened the trunk and gestured. Liam handed over the case. Kai placed it inside, then turned back to him. "You did well. Most new guys panic. You didn't." "What was in the bag?" Liam asked. Kai looked at him for a moment, unreadable. Then, "You don't want to know." Liam stared back, expression hard. "Actually, I do." Kai smiled thinly. "Then you're the kind of guy we can use." Back at the warehouse, the boss poured 2 glasses of whiskey. He handed one to Liam. "Cheers," he said. "You passed." Liam raised the glass, didn't drink. "What was the real test?" The boss smiled. "Simple. We needed to know if you'd follow orders. Or ask the wrong questions." I asked. "Exactly." He chuckled. "Most guys either follow blindly or try to be heroes. But you're in the middle. That's rare." Liam finally took a sip. Burned going down. But he didn't flinch. "So what now?" he asked. The boss leaned forward. "Now we find out just how far you're willing to go." The days after the train yard job passed in a haze of silence. No phone calls, no visits, no instructions. Liam didn't know if he was being rewarded or tested again. Probably both. The city felt different now. Louder. Tighter. Like it had eyes everywhere. He walked with his shoulders tenser, scanning alley corners, noticing every unmarked car. Every stranger's glance that lasted 1 second too long. On the 3rd day, Long showed up. No warning, no message. Just a knock on the apartment door at 2 a.m. Liam opened it shirtless, half asleep. Long stepped inside like he owned the place, tossing a black duffel bag onto the couch. "Get dressed," he said. "We got a job." Liam rubbed his face. "Another test?" Long lit a cigarette, blew smoke toward the ceiling. "This ain't a test. This is business." They drove through the sleeping city in a matte black SUV. Long handled the wheel with one hand, phone in the other, chain smoking with surgical precision. The duffel sat on Liam's lap, zipped shut. Heavy. "What's in the bag?" Liam asked. Long grinned. "Guns." Liam didn't reply. "You're not the driver this time," Long added. "You're the cleanup." "Cleanup for what?" Long shot him a look. "You really like asking questions, huh?" Liam held his gaze. "I like knowing when shit's gonna get me killed." That made Long laugh. "Relax. We're just sending a message tonight." They parked in front of a narrow 3-story house tucked between 2 empty storefronts in District 10. The street was dead. No foot traffic. No lights. Just the soft hum of electricity and the occasional bark from a far-off dog. Inside the house, 2 men waited. One tall, bald, neck tattooed. The other shorter, twitchy, holding a suppressed pistol like it was a snake about to bite him. "Target's upstairs," the tall one said. "Room at the end of the hall." "What did he do?" Liam asked. "He stole from us," Long said, loading a magazine into a Glock. "Now he learns what that costs." That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about sending a message. This was an execution. Liam followed them up the stairs step by slow step, each creak of the old wood echoing like a warning in his ears. He stayed behind the others, heart ticking like a metronome, mouth dry. They reached the door. Long knocked once. No answer. Then he kicked it open. Inside, the room was dim, fans spinning lazily overhead. One man inside, mid-40s, wearing boxers and a sweat-stained undershirt. He sat up, groggy, blinking through the dark. "Wait, what?" 2 shots. One to the chest. One to the head. The man dropped like a marionette with its strings cut. Blood hit the wall in a soft spray. Liam didn't move. No words. No anger. Just silence and the smell of metal. "Bag," Long said. Liam handed it over, watching as the bald one pulled out a bottle of bleach, latex gloves, rags. The cleanup kit. "Your turn," Long said. "My turn for what?" "To wipe it down. No prints, no fibers. You're the cleaner, remember?" Liam stared at the body. "What was his name?" Long raised an eyebrow. "Why the hell do you care?" Liam looked at him. Hard. "Because I just helped kill him." Long smirked. "Welcome to the job." They worked fast. Efficient. Like it wasn't their first time. Liam followed the motions. Gloves on. Wipe everything down. Door handles, light switches, bullet casings. Erase the scene like it never happened. When they left, the man had no name again. Just blood drying on a dirty floor. Back in the car, Long drove in silence for a while, the buzz of the tires on asphalt filling the void. Then, "You held it together. Most guys lose their shit after their first." Liam stared out the window. He was unarmed. Asleep. Long shrugged. "Doesn't matter." He made a choice. Choices have weight in our world. "And what if we're wrong?" Liam asked quietly. Long chuckled. "We're never wrong. Because we decide the rules." Later that morning, Kai found him again. Same black suit. Same expressionless stare. They sat across from each other at a quiet rooftop cafe, coffee steaming between them. "You're in," Kai said. "The boss wants you permanent. Full trust." Liam didn't respond right away. The city stretched out beneath them. Beautiful, chaotic, fragile. "I don't want to be a killer," he said at last. Kai leaned forward. "Then don't be. Be something worse. Be the man who gives the orders. The one who never gets blood on his hands but still makes the world move." Liam frowned. "You think that's better?" "I think it's smarter." That night, Liam stood alone on his balcony, staring down at the alleys below. Saigon looked the same, but he didn't. The line he thought existed, the one between who he was and what he was willing to become, was gone now. Erased by a knock at the door and 2 gunshots. He wasn't just in the game. He was part of the machine. And machines don't feel guilt. They just run. 6 months passed. Liam had become a ghost with a golden smile. Everyone in the underground knew his name now. Not the real one. The new one. The quiet knife. The guy who never shouted, never panicked, and never left a trace. If your name landed on his desk, you were already gone. He bought his mother a new house outside the city. Paid off his father's old gambling debts. From the outside he looked like success. But the inside was different. Quiet. Cold. Like all the blood had stopped flowing. One night a call came through. Not through Long. Not through Kai. This one was direct. A voice he'd never heard before. New target. Internal leak. Close. Very close. Liam lit a cigarette, sitting on the rooftop of a high-rise, the city glittering beneath him. "Name?" he asked. The voice hesitated. Then, Long, the cigarette froze in his hand. Long, his mentor, his gateway into the world, the devil who'd opened the door, but who had, in his own way, always protected him. Liam didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He hung up, heart heavy, thoughts racing. He met Long later that week at their usual bar, some dingy place that reeked of stale beer and fried pork. "You know why I called you here?" Long asked, nursing a drink. Liam nodded. Long chuckled. "Yeah, I figured." Silence. Then Long leaned in. "You don't have to do it. You can vanish. Take the money. Leave. I won't stop you." Liam looked him in the eyes. "If I run, they'll send someone else. Maybe. Maybe not. But if you kill me, then you're all the way in. Forever." Liam sat there for a long time after Long left. The drink got warm. The street outside quieted. And then he made a choice. A week later, Kai met with him on the rooftop again. "It's done?" Kai asked. Liam didn't answer. Kai narrowed his eyes. "You didn't." "I did something better," Liam interrupted. He handed Kai a flash drive. Evidence. Real names. Real ledgers. Insurance policy. Kai looked at it like it was a snake about to bite. "I'm out," Liam said. "You touch me or him, it goes public." Kai stared, emotionless. Then he smiled. "You really think you're free?" Liam lit a cigarette. Exhaled slowly. "No," he said. "But now I'm dangerous." He walked away into the city haze, a man with no country, no real name, but finally, just maybe, a soul again. And behind him the machine kept turning. But this time it was missing a part.